There we are, and we're live. Welcome, beautiful humans. Welcome back to another episode of Rise Together. And I'm really excited about the beautiful Amayra Morales that is speaking with us today. But before I get into what we've got on here for you today, I just want to remind you what this guest speaker series, what Rise Together is really all about. It is really all about for us to be able to, as individuals, figure out how to stop surviving in our crazy, sometimes super overwhelming modern world and start thriving and really looking at what does that mean for us on an individual level. This is the perfect place for those busy people who want to have more time for the things that are really important to them, and most importantly, more time for the people that they love and more time for the things that bring them joy. Because, joy is really where it's at, if you ask me. But again, this is a space to inspire each other. This is a safe space where we can talk about the realness, the rawness of life and the ups and downs and the squiggles and the craziness and all of those things in between. And really, in particular, looking at what does it actually take to thrive and how do we do that on our own terms? Because I really truly believe that every single one of us deserves to thrive. It's our birthright. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is SophieK. I'm a vitality and life coach, and I'm the founder of the Thrive Guide. And I am on a mission to liberate every single person on this planet, ideally from this paradigm of survival and hustle and burnout. So we can embrace really starting to live really fulfilled lives in all areas of our lives. And so we can thrive no matter where we are, no matter what's present for us, because I really truly believe that that is possible for every single one of us. So once again, I want to welcome the beautiful Amayra Morales, who's joining us from Peru today, which is really freaking cool. I always find it so amazing how we can be on the other side of the world and, have these beautiful conversations. And the things that Amayra brings to us today is I think it's a really important component of thriving, looking at our health, our physical health, looking at internally and how we're nourishing ourselves. But what Amayra does is she helps professional people glow from the inside out, which I love that. I love this because I really truly believe it does start on the inside. And how do we achieve glowing skin and glowing health with all of that? But I truly believe it's always the best person to introduce herself is Amayra. So I'm just going to hand it over to you and welcome to the space. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sophie. And I'm so excited to connect with you and your audience. And I hope that this kind of chat resonates with people out there, no? So I guess in my past life, I was in the corporate world for about 10 years until I burnt out and ended up in hospital. So there's nothing more, I guess, awakening than looking up at the ceiling of a hospital room and realizing that, crap, like, okay, this is serious now, no? Because I ignored the little whispers and the little tap from the universe. And then the universe said, okay, well, I'm sending you to hospital if you're not listening to all these signs that I'm giving you, So after being in hospital, I went kind of from like specialist to specialist, trying to work out like, if there is a way for me to get to the root cause of everything, no? Because what I was feeling was a lot of frustration with with modern medicine, no? Because I just kept getting like prescription medication, or my test results will come out as okay, normal, not enough for us to be concerned. It's probably genetics, and yeah, there's not much we can do about it. It's just prescription medication. And then eventually when I went back to the corporate world, I remember one particular day when I just looked around the room and I just realized I actually don't care about this. Like, if I was to leave the corporate world, it would not make any difference to me right now. Like, I didn't care about budgets, about, online marketing. I didn't care about anything. And I just realized that, I wasn't living the life for me. I was living the life for my parents. We were immigrants, as you mentioned. I'm in Peru. So I was born here in Peru, but then migrated to Australia. So I was very much living for them and their expectations. So it wasn't until I cut those energetic cords with them, went to India, got sick again, and then discovered Ayurveda. And it was finally the answers that I was looking for. It was the beginning of the end, because through Ayurveda, I actually learned how out of balance I was. And the doctor said to me, like, I can help you get to the root cause of everything. Like, this is it. No, you found it. And I was like, like, oh my God, finally there's somebody who understands that, me losing so much hair is not normal. Me like not sleeping, I don't know, like 2-3 hours is not normal. No, because every doctor says, oh, it's fine. You can just take pills for that. There's prescription medication. So finally I found a system that I was like, wow, like reading about these imbalances that I had in Ayurvedic terms was like listening to my biography, because I was ticking every single box, no? And I was like, wow, how is it that no doctor in Sydney, paid attention to my sleep, to my eating habits? And I just kind of felt like I just fell into like a box in Sydney, and everybody was like, I don't know, like everything seems normal to us, no? So then I went on to study Ayurveda, and without actually even wanting it to be a career or something, I became an accidental Ayurveda health coach, because once I started learning about all these things during the course that I was doing, I was posting it up on my private Facebook, private page, and then people were like, oh my God, I've got gas and bloating. Oh my God, I'm constipated. I'm this, I'm that. And I was like, wow. No, because when you're sick, I think you feel like you might be the only one going through it. And it's not until like you realize that Mary and Jane and Tom and everybody else is going through similar things. So yeah, so that's how I got here, really, as an accidental Ayurveda health coach.
I absolutely love that. And I love that you brought up this, it's a fact that there are so many of us who are actually struggling with bloating, with bowel motions, with, so many, which we almost consider minor physical imbalances and physical things and issues. And we don't really talk about them. We think it's normal and everybody has something. But what we're not seeing is that this is our body talking to us. This is our body letting us know what's going on. And I love that you brought this up, how important it is to really start listening to what
Yeah.
those messages are, and to be able to decode that. And I remember I came across Ayurveda myself, and it was life changing. Just this idea of the elements and how the different foods affect our bodies and all of that stuff. And obviously this is your genius zone, so I'm going to let you jump into that. But to me, that was a game changer, an absolute game changer, to really start to understand how all of that impacted my body, and what that also does to our quality of life when we're finally embracing that part and not seeing it as the scary thing or as normal. Let's just push those little health things to the side, because I really believe without health, without physical health, even mental health, you can't enjoy life. It's impossible to enjoy life in that state. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you go to the doctor, and I hear so many of these clients, and this happened to me as well. No, you go to them, and I say, but like they say, like, oh, how often are you going to, like, how often are you having a bowel movement? And I'm like, oh, maybe like once, twice a week. Now in Ayurveda, that would be like, what? No. And some people, you go to
Yeah.
the doctor, and the doctor says, yeah, that's kind of normal. There's nothing to worry about. No. But in Ayurveda, you're like, no, like if you're eating every day, where do you think all of that's kind of going? No. But it is the
Yeah.
emotional, it's the diet, the stress levels, the toxins in our environment, in our food, in our skincare products, everything. No, everything has a ripple effect.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely does, doesn't it? And it's I suppose, I don't know if you get this question a lot. I get this question a lot where people say to me, where do I start? Like, you start to unravel the thing and you get a bigger picture, and there's so much that we could be starting with. There's so many things that need attention and shifting. And I think this is such a thing that happens in our modern world as busy people. We really leave it until we're at breaking point. We leave it, right? Like you did, until we're in hospital. I left a lot of my, my emotional wounding, my emotional care, until I was in a depression or in a
Yeah.
depressive period, and we so often leave it until we're at the tip of the iceberg, and we're almost not necessarily at breaking point, but very close to it. Um, so what would you say to those people that feel like that? They just don't know where to start when it comes to their body and when it comes to their health. What do you think is a really
Oh,
good place for them to start?
There is so many. My mind's like, what about this? What about that? So I think for me, like one of the game changers was sleep. No, and I think
Mm.
that's something that we often overlook. And I know in the West we're so like fixated on the diet and the exercise now, but in Ayurveda we have a saying that sleep is actually way more important than diet and exercise combined. No, because there is just so much goodness happening in sleep that, you know, with these devices, they're kind of ruining, you know, a lot of our sleep. No, we're kind of getting into patterns where we're on TV for longer, we're on our phones for longer. So that's kind of disrupting a lot of the things. No? But there is like so much detox, rejuvenation, you know, so much happening throughout the night that your body, I mean, me, when I don't get a good sleep, I'm grumpy the next day, you know? So I need my, you know, my hours of sleep and good sleep, solid sleep, no? So for me, it would be like number one is definitely sleep, no?
Mm.
So looking
Yeah.
at like what we're doing throughout the day, because sleep doesn't just begin just before you go to bed. No, sleep in Ayurveda actually begins at the beginning of the day. No, so how are we actually starting our day? You know, how is our nourishment throughout the morning? What are our morning practices? No, and in general, Ayurveda is really obsessed with creating routine. No, so with the
Yeah.
crazy lives we're leading, that's kind of a little bit challenging for us. No, and when I was in India, I entered a 21-day panchakarma, which is like a detox program, you know. And one of the things that he challenged was like creating a routine throughout the day, you know. And I know it
Yeah.
was lovely, people cooking for me, and I had massages and all of this kind of stuff, you know. But he said, I still want you to get into a habit of having a good routine, you know, because then your body knows
Yeah.
exactly what to do each time of the day, knows how to produce enzymes at a particular time. No? Because if you're having breakfast at 6 a.m., then 10 a.m., then you forget to have breakfast. Your body's like, I don't even know like what I'm doing. No? So if you structure your body to have a routine, that is like one of the game changers as well.
I love that because it does actually lead into our next and our next question, which I really love, Amayra. But I think it's this idea of having freedom within our structure, right? And understanding that when we build a beautiful structure like that, that is in particular working for us, that actually gives us more freedom and more
Mm-hmm.
space in our life. And I know it seems like such an oxymoron, such an opposite, but I do really believe, the world works in balance, right? This is why we have day and night. This is why we have hot and cold and everything else in between. So I really love that you're bringing that up. And also, I don't think many of us really think about that our sleep actually starts throughout the day and how we nourish our body and how we structure our days. And from an emotional and sort of mental point of view, the structure gives us safety, and safety is really all we want, and safety is the basic thing that we all need in order to thrive. It is impossible to thrive if we don't feel safe, because then when we don't feel safe, we go straight into survival. And I really love talking about this because I really believe that we have to learn to work with our biology and the way we as humans are designed. Like, our bodies are incredible things. Just, I mean, even if you know what you were talking about in terms of all the things that happen throughout the sleep, the level of regeneration we're capable of as living beings, as humans, is really quite remarkable. And I find it quite mind-blowing every time I think about it. But I suppose looking at routine, so now that you've shared with us that when we look at sleep, it really starts during the day and especially in the morning. What's your favorite way to start the day, or what do you think are some really inspired ways to start the day? And I know obviously this is very individual for each person, but maybe if you can share what you do and what really works for you, it inspires our listeners to figure out what really works for them.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to give you two scenarios, right? So I'm waking up and I'm hitting the snooze button, and then I'm looking at the phone and I'm like rushing around, like having a shower, like having not such a great breakfast, and then I'm out the
Yeah.
door to catch my bus or drive, right? So that's scenario one. And probably like the night before, I didn't sleep very well, or I stayed up watching a movie. So that was disrupted. But let's say that I went to bed at 9 p.m. the previous night, had a really good solid sleep. And then I decided that I'm going to wake up today, maybe half an hour before what I'm meant to, you know? And naturally your body, once you start to get into this routine, you actually don't even need an alarm clock. Your body just ding, naturally, wakes up. So then I might go and meditate, and I might go and do some breath work and do my, Ayurveda, like oral hygiene, or like my tongue scraping, my oil pulling. And then, I might have some warm water. I might have a really good nourishing breakfast, and then I'm kind of ready to go out the door. So those are the two scenarios, right? So I
Yeah.
think that you can definitely pick which one is going to be. And I understand that sometimes this one is going to be a little bit chaotic and it may happen, no? But there is definitely so many health advocates as well who are promoting, a good routine. Like Tony Robbins is a huge advocate of, starting a good solid morning routine.
Yeah.
And not everybody has to go to the gym. Not everybody has to go for a run. No? So in Ayurveda, we say that, you have to tune in with your body. If your mind is going a little bit crazy and then you're not meditating or you're not doing any, any practices to connect with your body, that's going to have a ripple effect throughout the day. So I may not need to have, the 2 cups of coffee because I have done my, energizing breath work throughout the morning that I don't need to have. But I understand that this person may need to have some coffee just to keep them going throughout the day. So yeah, so I think the morning routine is really, really interesting. So if you can incorporate some sort of movement, whether it's walking, whether it's yoga, whether it's just, I don't know, being in your backyard, taking off your shoes and just jumping up and down, some sort of movement. If you're lucky enough to live near the beach, go for a swim. That is like the perfect way to start the. And in Ayurveda we love warm water. So warm water is so
Yeah.
nourishing, so hydrating. If you think about it, if you've slept like 8 hours straight, which you would be very lucky to, your body hasn't done much throughout that time. So it does wake up a little bit hydrated. And I notice that some of my clients with their old habits, they may have reached for a coffee or a green smoothie or something like that. But in Ayurveda, we just make it really simple. Just have, a cup or 2 cups of warm water in the morning. And that's going to be obviously be hydrating. It's going to be detoxifying, and it's actually going to help you have a bowel movement in the morning as well.
Yeah, it's cool that you bring that up. I've actually just recently started trying out acupuncture. Just I like trying new things, but also because there's sort of some things that I don't seem to be able to shift in terms of my back. But anyways, long story cut short, they said the same thing, and he liked it. I loved the way he said it. He said, "Imagine you're waking up in the morning, and when you put cold water into your body, it's like throwing cold water into your face. Imagine you were to wake up like that. So you're shocking your body." And I have to say, I've tried it, and it's quite a different way to start day, to start with warm water. And
Yeah.
give a little bit of a life hack out there, I actually have a little thermos can. So at night, I boil the water and I put the water in the thermos can. So when I wake up in the morning, because that's what I like to do first thing in the morning, drink some water before I do anything else. It's still warm in the thermos can. So for anyone who wants to try that, and because we can so quickly put it into the too hard basket. Um, but it really is definitely worth trying. And to me, that makes a lot of sense. And I don't think that is something that is very sort of common knowledge, especially in the Western world. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no worries. It's so interesting because I've had clients who I tell them this particular, Ayurveda principle, and they're like, wow, I can't believe I paid so much money for a consult with you just to tell me that all I needed was warm water, no? Because for some reason, I don't know, we love to have a cold orange juice or a green smoothie or something. So in
Mm,
Ayurveda, we focus a lot on the digestive system, and we call that your Agni, which is your digestive fire, no? So the digestive fire, if you think about it, has been kind of weak throughout the night now, even though it's been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, no? So then you wouldn't just go and put like cold water on this fire in the morning, no, or ice. No, that's just not,
yeah.
because you need to retain that fire throughout the morning, no? And the morning is actually when your digestive system is the weakest. So we need to kind of rekindle that. So apart from having the warm water, we recommend clients to have like ginger just to get the digestive system going, or maybe turmeric, depending on your particular imbalance or dosha.
Yeah. Yeah, I find turmeric tea really works for me. I love turmeric tea first thing in the morning. Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I think, I think it's funny that you said that your clients have paid you this money just for you to tell me to drink some more water. And honestly, it's often the simplest things that make the biggest difference. You know, we think we're often on the search for this big, complicated way of fixing our problems, when actually and a lot of the time, it's actually just going back down to basics and really looking at the basic things that we do every single day. And I think in terms of our health, yeah, we look at diet, but we often don't look at water intake, how we take it. You know, the kind of, even we can get into a whole conversation around, right, water, especially when we're living in the Western world and we're drinking tap water full of chlorine and all of those kind of things, and the impact on our stomach in the morning, which is a whole nother conversation. We might have to do another live on this one if you're up for it, because it's a big one. Yeah, but I think it's a really cool thing to raise, and I think it's a really important thing to think about how we treat our bodies and the level of self-love and self-respect and self-care we take with just those really simple things. Those really, really simple things. So brings me to my next question. So obviously, and I love that you brought this up earlier as well, that you know, sometimes life gets stressful for various reasons. Sometimes we all get a little bit stressed out. Maybe something unforeseen happens, or you know, something foreseen goes a bit awry, goes into a different direction from what we thought it was going to go. So stress is part of everyday life, right? And it's not something that we can eliminate. And in fact, you know, stress isn't necessarily always bad. It depends on, even when we're exercising and things like that, right? We're putting our body under stress because it allows us to grow and regenerate and become stronger. But when you are experiencing, you know, either a stressful period or something stressful occurs in your life, what are some of the things that you do to help you get back to that equilibrium and get back out of that stress mode? And also, I suppose, how does Ayurveda, you know, kind of deal with stress from an Ayurvedic point of view? What are your thoughts about that?
What a great question. Because I think when you mentioned that, you know, we overcomplicate things, and we sure do, you know? So I think one of the best ways to handle a stressful situation is breath. Come back to your breath. You know? And I think, you know, when I teach yoga here, because there's a retreat center that I go and teach yoga, I ask people, like, I want you to take a deep breath, and we're breathing from our chest. You know, we puff up our chest and we think that that's breath. You know? So when I reverse that and I say, okay, now I want you to come back to your belly. Now expand the belly away from the spine, you know, relax. So the people that I'm working with in this particular center are going in to have ayahuasca ceremonies, no? So their levels of stress and anxiety and everything is creeping in, no? But they notice a shift once we do the breath work at the beginning and at the end of yoga sessions, no? And I think that's one thing that we definitely take for granted, that we can just come back to our breath. And I live in a very pitta society, so very fiery. Like Latin people in generally are very fiery, no? So I've been in situations where I've been on buses and there've been like two men like going at it. You hit my car, no, you came this way and that way, no? And I think at those moments, I just take a deep breath in and I'm like, okay, even though it's not my issue, you know, but you are surrounded by that kind of energy, you know? So Ayurveda definitely recommends, you know, coming back to your breath, you know, and having some sort of breath work practice throughout the day, you know, whether it's in the morning, at lunchtime at work, or in the evening, you know, because that's going to come back to obviously you connecting with your body, but also coming back to a parasympathetic state, you know. So that's the key things. I know if people were expecting like, I'll take this herb, this supplement or whatever, yeah, I can say to you, yeah, take ashwagandha, take some of this, take some of that. But the reality is I want you to focus on breath more than anything, no?
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you brought up pitta, and then there's kapha, and then what's the other one? Is it vata? It's the other one, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to just explain to our viewers, for some of the people that maybe don't know much about Ayurveda or how it works, do you want to just explain how the elements work? Because I think that's really I mean, there's so much that comes with Ayurveda, right? But that's the basis of it, isn't it?
Sure. So in Ayurveda, we work with the 5 elements. So ether, air, fire, water, and earth. You know? And these are within your body. and within Mother Nature. No? So one of the key things of Ayurveda is really connecting to nature and the circadian rhythms of nature. No? So this is why we go to bed at a particular time and we wake up. And this is exactly why we're not going for a swim at 2 a.m. in the morning and then, a hike at 12 p.m. No, this is why that we need to work with these rhythms of nature. No? So we work with those 5 elements, and then they go on to make the 3 doshas, which are essentially energy types. No? As you mentioned, the first one is Vata, which is air and ether. Pitta, it is fire and water. And then the last one, which is Kapha, it's earth and water. No? So you will be all the doshas, but in varying amounts. No? So the idea is to bring the dosha that has gone a little bit haywire and bring it back into balance, because Ayurveda is all about balance. No? So the first dosha, which is the Vata dosha, which let's just call it the wind energy, just to make it super simple for people out there. No? So when it's balanced, it's really creative. It's coming up with new ideas. Body-wise, it's quite light. No, it's really great at thinking outside the box. So really visionaries kind of thing. No, and then when it's out of balance, it means that too much air is in the body. So this can come up as constipation, running thoughts, insomnia, gas, bloating, just to kind of name a few. So the idea is for grounding. So Vata needs grounding foods, warm foods, lots of oils, and really nourishment. And this is the dosha that would benefit from having a routine. I mean, all of them would benefit from having a routine, but Vata, because Vata is like in their own Vata world. And then the next one is Pitta, which is the fire dosha. So if a person is fiery and they're balanced, they make good leaders, they communicate really well, they have a good plan, 5, 10, 15-year plan. They generally make great leaders. And then when they're out of balance, it means irritability, it means anger, it means frustration. It means that, if you make a plan with them and you cancel, it's not like, oh, it's cool, like we'll see you next week. It's like, but why? Like I've set aside my calendar for 2 p.m. Why didn't you show up? No, so it's very, very heightened emotions. So what pittas really need to do is cool down. So they need cooling foods. And one of the characteristics as well is, too much inflammation in the body. So this can come up on the skin. So anything that ends with itis is too much, is inflammation in the body. So ulcerative colitis, gastritis. So anything like that is definitely a pitta issue. So we need cooling food. So think coconut water, watermelon, coconut oil to green leafy vegetables, and cooling practices, maybe like cooling breath work, going for a swim, but not like at midday, like at 35-degree heat, in the mornings or afternoons. And then Kapha is the earth energy. And sometimes when we think about that, we think about grandmother energy, So they're always giving. Like you think about Pachamama, Mother Earth, she's always giving, as she's like, you've got this, I've got it. I've got apples for you. I've got everything for you, But at the end of the day, they feel a little bit depleted, Because they're just giving, giving, giving. So this dosha tends to come up with the issues of depression, because they're always thinking about other people and not themselves. They're quite stagnant. When you look at the earth, like if you put your hands through it, it's not like smooth like with water. It's stagnant. So these people tend to kind of fall under like just doing the similar habits quite often. They may go to the restaurant every Friday night, go to have the same friends, maybe stay with a partner who they're just for the sake of staying. So quite in their little world. So they need kind of like a Pitta and a Vata friend to like say, hey, let's go hiking, hey, let's go swimming, let's get out of this rut. So for them, it's like really invigorating food. So ginger, turmeric, garlic, tofu, very light and invigorating food. So that's kind of like the snapshot of the doshas. Like I said, you will fall into one of them as your dominant dosha. So it's a matter of bringing that one down.
Yeah. It's so cool to hear you speak about that. I'm actually Kappa, making those invigorating foods. Yes, and I found that too, and I found that definitely the sluggishness that comes quite quickly if I'm not doing invigorating things and I'm not eating invigorating foods and greens is definitely a big thing. So really relate to this. Thank you for sharing that because I think It can be a bit daunting sometimes looking into these new things, especially I think Ayurveda. I mean, it's from what I'm hearing, it's being talked about more, but it's not common knowledge, right? So it's not unless you come from a part of the world where that's often where that's practiced, India and things like that. So
But we
it's
look at
really
the
cool to hear about
yeah, we look at the doshas from every aspect as well, no, when we're
that.
thinking about like dating, you know. And
Yeah.
this is a really interesting thing with the doshas. No, they say that maybe two doshas who are so similar may not make a good match, no, because if
Mhm.
I'm a vata dominant, no, so and if I meet another vata dominant, which there are a lot of where I live because it's a very spiritual community, so like they're doing plant medicine and acro yoga and they're vegans and stuff. So if I fall into that, we're both just going to like float off into the air, no?
Yeah.
So vatas are really good at coming up with ideas. As I said, they're very creative, no? But they're recommended to kind of meet a pitta because pitta likes to put things there in action. No? So if I come up with an idea, my partner might be like, yeah, I know somebody who can make those. They can make the soap, they can do this, and then they can do
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
packaging, blah, blah, blah. No? And then you both come into this kapha era where, you know, you're just relaxing. No? So then
Mm,
pitta also with a kapha because two pittas together as well, it's too much, you know, like they're too
very.
fiery.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they need a kapha or a vata, you know, to get the creative side. Hey, let's go and do something new, or hey, like, let's just go and
Mm,
chill for this, you know? And then again, for the kaphas, no, kapha is recommended. Maybe not so much with another kapha because they may just like Netflix and chill all day on the couch with food, no? So they need something more
yeah.
like invigorating. Hey, let's go and try something new. Let's go hiking. Let's go and do this. Hey, there's a live concert. Let's go. So it's about
Yeah.
actually, yeah, looking at the doshas from every
Interesting.
aspect of yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. Thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna be doing some reading after this. I'm feeling thoroughly inspired. So I suppose this brings me to my next question, and I really love asking this question because I think as humans, we don't really think about what our strengths are, what our superpowers are in everyday life. We often think and focus on the things that we need to improve. And I really believe that as part of thriving, whether that's, in whatever area of life you're focusing on or all of your areas of life, I think it's really important to recognize what we are good in and what we're naturally, just as you're working with the elements and really to look at what your natural, I suppose, inclinations are. So what's your superpower, Amayra? What do you think is the one thing that makes you uniquely you, or is the one thing that really enhances your, I suppose, your unique energy? And yeah,
I think for me, it's like not being able to give up, no? And I can see that from the corporate world, no? Like I was hitting budgets, I was doing this and staffing and blah, blah, no? And I just kept going. And then obviously when I was going through my health crisis as well, like I wasn't satisfied with the answers that I was given, no? So I went and did
yeah,
some research. So it was just pushing through and not taking whatever they tell me at face value, no? And I think a
yeah.
lot of us tend to do that, no? Because we tend to think of the current modern health system as the Holy Bible, no?
Mm,
And most of us
yeah.
just go, okay, well, maybe that's the only choice, no? So I think one thing is like inspiring people to really go out and educate themselves on what's going on with their health, no? So I can tell you that prescription medication is not the bee's knees of everything. No? So I'm super glad that I had that kind of tenacity, that curiosity of really finding out about it. No? And when I work with my clients, I do exactly the same thing with them. No? And it's like really asking questions like, but why? Why do you think about that? No? And really kind of not challenging them, but getting them to really open their mind in terms of when it comes to
Mm,
their health. No? And not taking no as an answer, no, because I could have easily taken no. Like I could have easily taken like, okay, cool, that's the pharmaceutical route. Maybe that's the only one, no? But I was like, something intuitively just told me that there's got to be another way, no? There's got to be another way and you need to find out somehow, no? So yeah, it's having that kind of that drive to push through these issues and being an entrepreneur as well. As you know, it's not easy. It's not always easy, no?
no,
And there's
no.
been times where I'm like, stuff this, I give up, this is hard, no? But you've just got to find that
Yeah,
stamina, that drive to keep pushing through.
yeah. Tenacity. Definitely, isn't it? Yeah, I love that. And I think, what's really cool when you allow yourself to not take everything on face value and you start asking questions, what you get presented with is different points of view and different perspectives. And I think when we allow ourselves to see different perspectives, even if that perspective doesn't necessarily align with ours, we always learn something out of it and we always get something enriching out of it because it allows us to either strengthen our own standpoint or point of view, but it also allows us to shift and adjust and to calibrate. And we're constantly shifting and adjusting and calibrating depending on our environment, on the people we're in, on the work that we're doing, on the projects that and so on. And I think when it comes to thriving and when it comes to health, it's like we have this perception that it's a destination. We're going to reach it, and then once we're there, we'll be happy. This is not how it works. And I think from how you're talking too, right? How what you were sharing with us, that there is things we got to continue to do to nurture ourselves. And I think tenacity is, even though to some of us it comes naturally, it is something that can be built over time if we're choosing to, right? So it's got to be a choice too. So thank you for sharing that. I love that. Um, so my next question is, what did you once believe about yourself that stopped you from feeling good about who you were, and how did you come out of that? So was there something that a limiting belief or something, a roadblock that stopped you from getting to the next stage, which you later on, maybe on reflection, realized that this was it?
Yeah, I guess when I was living in Sydney, I didn't have like such great role models in terms of people like following their dharma and really living their best life. No, I was
Mm,
surrounded by people who were in their job. It was just to meet, yeah, just to pay the bills, no. And I remember this heated conversation that I had with my father just before I left. And I said, I've quit my job and I'm going to India and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing with my life now. And to hear, like, to a Latin father who migrated to Australia and to hear his daughter that she's just off to India doing God knows what, it was really like, I really challenged him, and he said to me, Amayra, nobody likes their job. We all just have to do it. And I was like, wow. So this is the mentality that I had grown up with, no? And now that I'm in like business groups and women's groups and everything like that,
yeah,
we keep hearing these limiting beliefs, no? And for me, it was like, I thought that people could have these amazing lives doing something that they loved, but that kind of life was only reserved for the special people of the world. And I wasn't included in that because what I kept hearing was like, you don't even have to like your job, you just pay the bills and that's all you're doing, So for me, it was like once I got out of that kind of circle, I realized that wow, people were actually like smashing life and really loving what they were doing. And I remember like being like when I first came to Peru, and people here are like tantra coaches and this coach and blah blah blah, and I'm like, wow, like do your parents know you're doing this? Because my parents like would never like be happy knowing that I'm doing what I'm doing right now. For them it was like, we took you to Australia out of Peru so you can be a doctor, so you can be in the corporate world, so you can be successful in their eyes, no? But I have to realize that they value different things that I do, So for me, I think it was like getting out of that mindset that this particular life where you get paid to do something that you love is reserved for the special people. Like that was a total game changer for me now. So now that I'm surrounded by different people and business owners and entrepreneurs who are actually really loving what they do, is yeah, such a game changer now. And now I believe it and I am living it and knowing it that it is possible.
yeah. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? And I love that you've brought that up, that often our beliefs that we have, that we run our whole lives by, are often not even our own. We've just
Mm,
picked them up from somewhere, or someone's lived them in front of us, and we've just picked them up and made them our own because that's how we
yeah.
think the world is, right? And it takes seeing different perspective. And sometimes it also takes hitting rock bottom to allow ourselves to see those things from a different point of view. And I suppose even though I know that sometimes this is the natural course of actions, and sometimes we have to hit rock bottom for us to really see, I really truly believe that we don't necessarily have to wait this long, that we get to open ourselves up to different possibilities much earlier in the process, but we got to give ourselves permission to do so too. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's huge, and I just think you have such an inspiring story. And to just have had that courage to completely leave behind what was normal, what you knew. That takes a lot of courage and a lot of guts. And I do believe that that courage very often pays off, especially if it's a soul-led courage, right? So I suppose this brings me again to my next question. I love how it always flows so perfectly in the conversation. It's like magic. Who inspires you, Amayra? Who inspires you and why?
So, wow, there's so many people. So I have a mentor in Sydney who was probably the one that lit a rocket up my peachy behind, because when I was going through those health issues and I was going through a breakup and I was hating my job and I was not really liking Sydney, she asked me, so like, what do you want to do? And I said, oh, I'd love to like be a yoga teacher. Like that sounds really like amazing. And I had been doing yoga for a while and no. And she's like, but how long have you been wanting to do this? I'm like, oh, like, I don't know, like for 3-4 years. And she's like, well, then you're like 3 or 4 years too late, aren't you? Like time's not waiting around until you get together, no? And I think this is one thing that I hear as well, no? I'll wait to do your coaching program
Yeah.
when I'm ready. I'll wait that until I meet somebody, no? I'll wait for that, no? And there isn't a perfect moment until now, no? So
Yeah.
when she said that to me, for some reason, that kind of like shook me. And it's like, yeah, how long am I going to be waiting in this? Like what other sign am I going to be waiting for? Like I've already landed in hospital, like nothing in my life at the moment is going right. It's as if Sydney was like giving me like, get out of here, go and discover the world, go and do something else, no?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
she was the one who really lit that. And I have so much
Mm.
to thank her for, because she was also exactly where I was, no, confused, didn't know what to do. But now she is this amazing, she's a coach as well with her partner, no? And they're both doing like couples retreats and really helping couples
Ah.
yeah. And so
Mm.
I really value her, and through her I met her partner, no? So I met them when I was leaving to go to India. So they were the ones who were like, what on earth are you doing here? You need to go out and discover the world, and you need to be doing this and that, no? So
Yeah.
yeah, they paved the way for me to realize that one day I am going to have this amazing king in my life and we're going to do great things, because I see them like doing amazing things and helping couples and whatever it is, no? I know it's coming my way. I just have to be patient. But yeah, I look at them as like such a great couple, no, supportive, there's love, there's commitment, there's just so much tenacity within them as well, no? So yeah, I would say that they are some people that I look up to.
Cool. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. And it's interesting because relationships are something that comes up in my work quite a lot, and I'm sure it does in yours too. And it's so interesting because our life is people, right? So it makes sense that relationships are such a huge part of some of the things that we're learning and we're going through. But I think for me, the game changer was in terms of relationships, and I would assume that your friends will have a similar philosophy on this, is that even though we may be couples, we're still an individual entity, and that we got to take care of ourselves first and really be aware what we bring into the partnership. And because it's the partnership requires two well-functioning people, right? And it doesn't mean that we have to have all our stuff together all the time, and that we don't, we aren't allowed to have hiccups and roadblocks and all those things. Of course we are. But it all comes back down to how we treat ourselves, because how we treat ourselves is often very much reflected in how we treat others, and vice versa. So it's an
Yeah,
interesting
absolutely.
conversation to
You do
have.
so much like
Mm.
internal work yourself, and it's not until you meet
Yeah,
a partner that the real work really begins, no? Because you
yeah,
can say, oh, I've done like 30 ayahuasca ceremonies, I've been to Vipassana, I do breath work, I do my Ayurvedic practices, but when you meet that one and they trigger something within you, or they bring
Yeah.
something up, it's like,
Mm.
okay, there's 30 ayahuasca ceremonies that you've done. Like, here it is. It's right in front of you now. How are you
Yeah.
going to work through this? No? So yeah, super interesting. I haven't been in a relationship for a while, no? And sometimes I think as well, you can get comfortable being alone just to avoid
Yeah.
that, to avoid the triggers, to avoid things, kind of rising to the surface as well. So yeah,
Mm.
I'm curious about this myself. So we'll see. No, but
Watch the
yeah,
space. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Because I feel the same. That sometimes I am in a partnership, but sometimes it can be a scary thing, especially if you've had not so nice experiences beforehand, I suppose. And all of us
Absolutely.
have been burnt in one way or the other. You know, yeah, whole nother conversation. Again, I always feel like the more I have these lives, the more ideas for lives I get because there's so much more to discuss.
Yeah.
But to wrap up this beautiful session, and I think it's been so packed with not just so much amazing knowledge that you bring, but life experience, right? The experience of actually living these values, living this knowledge and spreading it and providing an opportunity for people to experience this with you and see how this may apply to their own personal life. And, because I think for me, as part of my work, one of the things that I find is super important is celebrating ourselves and celebrating the achievements and the milestones and celebrating the past versions of ourselves that made these decisions, right? That past version of Amayra that made that decision to leave Sydney. So if you think back at the version of you from 5 or 10 years ago, what are you really proud of? What parts or what is there something that you did, or is there something that I suppose a trait that you had that you were really proud of that allowed you to get to the space where you are now?
So I guess for me, like, I've always had this desire to help. Always, even when
Mm,
I was a little girl, like I would bring animals home. My parents were like, "Oh God, here she goes again," no kind of thing. No, so I had this within me. No, when I was 23, I ended up going to Laos and I lived there to work for an NGO. I volunteered in Cambodia. I volunteered here in Peru. So I had always this desire to help. I just didn't know how to channel it, and I didn't know that you could potentially do it, while doing something that you love as well, no, like health coaching. I had no idea, no. So I believe that I had to go through all those health issues. I
yeah,
believe that I had to do those through that dark night of the soul kind of
yeah,
experience,
yeah,
because then
yeah.
I wouldn't value my health. No, if I had perfect health, it would be nothing to me. No, so I
Mm,
believe that all of those experiences, and in a way, like, I know this probably sounds crazy, and when I was going through all those health challenges and just like banging my head against the wall because I wasn't able to get answers, in a way, I am actually really thankful for those doctors who told me that it's normal, it's genetics, don't worry about it. You can get IVF when you get older, you go to antidepressants. In a way, I'm super grateful for them, because that just gave me the lady balls to go
yeah,
out and find answers on my own, and then to actually use all of that knowledge that I had to go and now help women, and help them in their health journey, because women and people in general are really confused, like you're saying. Like, one of the first questions, like, where do I start? No, what do I do? I know that I'm not like having a bowel movement. I know that my skin is not looking great. I know that my hair's falling out, but I actually don't know what to do. So in a way, I'm super grateful that I had that really dark period with my health, because now I've come out the other side and I can
yeah,
really help women with all the experience, all the knowledge, and all the understanding and compassion. Because I don't believe that modern medicine is so compassionate and understanding. So this is why we've got people like you, like I, who are like, I've lived through that. I know exactly where you are. I
hmm,
was exactly where you are 5-10 years ago, and it's possible. Now, I know that you probably think right now that your health issues and all of that, you can't really, get on top of, but I'm here to tell you
yeah,
that it is really possible. The only difference between, I guess, you and I and other people is that we wanted to change,
yeah,
because so many people like say, I need to change, but don't really want to change, and they go back to old habits. No, whereas you and I were like, okay, I'm here, I'm ready to do the work.
yeah,
What do I need? Kind of thing. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm super grateful. Like, again, it comes back to that tenacity of, really like overcoming all these health issues and knowing intuitively somehow that there are other answers out there.
Yeah, I love that. And what a beautiful way to wrap up our session. Thank you so much for being here today, Amayra. And, I think, again, the wisdom that you come with, but also just the different points of view and the compassion, but also, there's that element of tough love where we got to hold up the mirror to people and they have to be allowed to see themselves and also be able to, take full responsibility for what we are creating. And
Mm-hmm.
but taking full responsibility without beating ourselves up, because often I think we connect those two things as the same thing, and they're definitely not, right? We all have things to improve, so or things that we could change and work on, and so let's embrace those as being normal and a normal part of life, and an enriching part of life. And actually, magic happens, and I love that, the dark night of the soul. Magic can happen in those moments too. So, is there anything else that you would like to share, or anything that you would like to say before you go? And also, how do people get in touch with you if they would like to hear more and connect with you about your practice?
Yeah, yeah. I heard a quote recently, and it was like, you can have like 1,000 problems, but once you have that one health problem, that becomes the main, issue, And I believe that we've all come here to live our best life, right? So you won't be able to do that if you have all these health concerns, no? Because when you have all these health concerns, all you can think about is like, what am I diet? Well, I don't know what I'm doing. What herb should I take? What supplements? No? So just imagine, like, you could have your best life. You could go and fulfill your trips, your business ideas, go and have a family, but don't let your health issues aren't just going to go away on their own. It's not like, oh, I'll just wait a month and see what happens. No, they're just going to, like, one is going to lead to the other and possibly to the other. No, so listen to the whispers of the universe. If the universe is giving you a little tap and you know that something is not right health wise, go and get that checked out. I'm not saying Ayurveda may be the answer for you, and maybe keto, traditional Chinese medicine, and maybe something else, So don't let all these health issues accumulate to, you ending up in hospital like me, because I just pushed through it and I said, I'm a businesswoman. I've got this, I'm on top of it. So yeah, that was my bad from my partner. So yeah, just get on top of your health so you can go out and pursue all these dreams and desires that you have.
Yeah, beautiful. And where can people get in touch with you? What's the best
Yeah,
way to
so
get in touch?
yeah, I'm a little bit more active on Facebook. So come and hang out with me. Amayra Morales is my private face page. But if you want to find out a little bit more about Ayurveda, so I've got a Facebook group called Ayurveda for Professional Women. And I really focus on like nourishing recipes, Ayurvedic tips. I'm focusing now more on skin health, obviously looking at obviously the gut as well and everything else. So that's something that I'm super passionate about. And yeah, I love making all my natural products. So yeah, come and hang out with me if that kind of tickles your fancy.
Yeah, cool. That sounds beautiful. I'm in it too. And there's some really, really amazing content coming through. So get in there, beautiful people. That wraps up our session. And again, thank you so much for your time. And I know that whoever needs to see this, whoever comes across this, whatever, whichever part they see, whether they see the whole thing or not, I know they'll be taking something inspiring and something mind and thought provoking from this conversation. So it was a pleasure. Thank you so much, Amayra.
Thank you so
And
much. Thank you for your time.
we'll see you soon. Bye.